Guess we're live on here. So, live with Bucky Beeman with the first episode of whatever this becomes. The topic for tonight is on recent events we've both encountered. With Bucky specifically, it's social media marketing world, and with me specifically, it's real estate wealth expo. So going forward, Bucky, I have you as my guest. There's a couple questions. There's a couple or a long list of questions I got for you. So the first one, basic one. What was your favorite part about attending social media marketing world?
I think my favorite part is not like a takeaway of an individual piece of advice. It honestly is the people, because you're around so many different people with so many different passions, all somewhat related to the internet, and having so many different talented individuals in one area at one conference with the opportunity to network. There were so many people. You obviously didn't talk to all of them, but I met two twin sisters from Dubai. The Dubai Twin Sisters, I think, is their username on Instagram. And they aren't doing video. They're more blogging about traveling and things like that. I met Carlos Gil, who is building up a YouTube following. If you look up Carlos Gil, I hung out with the Snap Pack, a group of people I've met via Snapchat that we now call ourselves the Snap Pack. The people was the best part of the whole thing. And then the takeaways from the people of where we were bouncing ideas off each other and how each person is using the internet for their specific business passion or just life.
And how many uses of the internet were there? Like, I know your specialty was video, right?
That's definitely the keynotes or the topics that I went and sat in on. There was a speaker that would get up and talk about their topic of how they built the YouTube following, how you can vlog better, how you can use analytics on the back end of YouTube to really tell if you're having success. So yes, mine was video that I went to, but there was many, many, many different topics covered. Anything from Snapchat to Facebook ads to Instagram, and even diving down into each platform and different techniques via the internet to help your business. I just really went in there with one goal in mind, to learn more about video and not dilute myself with all the things I could. Now, the great thing is I have all available to myself with the recordings. That's part of the fee, is you get access to those recordings, I think, for a year or so.
So with recordings, those were the like the keynotes and the speakers and all that stuff?
Yeah, all the keynotes, all the different speakers. So even though I didn't get to the Facebook ad one or the one related to Instagram, I get to access it later.
So bouncing off with real estate wealth expo, one of the things they told us not to do at the start of the event was one of the main moderator was saying, please, no one take out your phone. There's no flash photography, no recording. But everyone broke that rule. So what I'm seeing is that with live events, there's this documentation aspect to them where so many of us can easily document things and relive them again. So it's great that you can relive the events that you couldn't go to with that day, because it must have been all jam-packed together, right?
Yeah, it was one after another. At any one given time, there was 10 different speakers going on in different rooms at this conference center. So absolutely, you couldn't get to it all. You couldn't meet as many people as you wanted to.
What was the start of all this as far as you getting into video?
Getting into video or getting into the specific event?
Let's go video first and then the specific event.
So video for me started when I was young. I basically started documenting. I didn't know I was documenting this or telling stories via video, but I did it with hunting. I really enjoyed hunting. There was a movement to where people were starting to record their hunts. I caught the very beginning of that movement where it was VHS cameras, and I noticed people producing VHS hunting videos for the first time. And I wanted to do that. I was young at that point. I wasn't in high school yet, but I remember watching those VHS tapes before hunting season, during hunting season, and just dreaming about trying to be the person on camera or even behind the camera so I could document my hunts and my family's hunts and my friends' hunts. that led to me eventually chasing that passion through high school, where I took video class at our local high school. That led to me going to camera school specific to the hunting industry. Camera school is like a 3-week type of deal from what I recall. I was obviously the youngest guy there, but I saved up my money to go to this thing in Wisconsin because I found out about it via the internet. So that's where storytelling via video started for me. And it eventually turned into somewhat of a job. I did travel around in the hunting industry my first year out of high school. I didn't go to college, but first year out of high school. And then that led to me deciding I didn't want to make that my career. What I'm excited to see now is I'm figuring out how to involve that passion back into my career, which is now commercial real estate. So that's where video started for me.
So what you were taking was the passions that you had then and infusing video through that, then now is into your passions now.
Absolutely. And I haven't been videotaping hunts for 7-8 years since I left the job that I did have. But since finding Snapchat just 1.5 years, 2 years ago, it has reignited my passion for video and recognizing I can bring that passion, that's really the creative side of my brain. I feel like reigniting that creative side of my brain and combining it with real estate, my own documentation, my own journeys, this right here, this video format, like just recognizing that I can still do video. I still can, as I'll say, document my hunts. My hunts now are not after wildlife. It's after the journey of my real estate career, helping my team members find opportunities, helping my clients find opportunities. All those great things can be documented, and it all can be documented from this, which is awesome, or this.
The ease of it all, where before you had to lug around this thing that was like, there's a notebook, like a representation. You had to lug around a camera kind of like this, and now it's, downsizes to a phone.
You're right, and it's funny you mentioned that because it just made me think back to the beginning stages of hunting. It was a VHS. My dad had the camera. It was the same one he was recording our family Christmas with. It went down to what was called a PD-170. I had to buy a Sony PD-170 if I wanted the top notch. It was recording on mini DV. And then right about when I got my job in the hunting industry, it went to digital, so it was memory. And since then, I've been out of the hunting industry, but it's got smaller and smaller. The digital cameras have got better and better. There's cameras like the Red camera where it's more cinematography type filming. People that are filming hunts are straight up making featured films but with some of their stuff. So you're right, it's gotten a lot easier to do video. No longer are we hauling along this VHS recorder.
For you to go through that, where you have this longer VHS recorder, now to seeing the transformation where it's size of a handheld phone. That's a long time of distance. So you've been documenting for a while. Is that what led into you being a part of social media marketing world?
Ultimately, because I met other people that were passionate about social media, and they were all on Snapchat, and that's now what's become a group of individuals. We call ourselves the Snap Pack, all real estate enthusiasts. One's a residential real estate agent, one's in the mortgage business, another one's a residential real estate agent in a different state, but we all met via Snapchat, and they pushed me to go to social media marketing world after we met. And I honestly wasn't gonna go, but then I was like, gosh, you only live once, and they're pushing me, and at least it's cool. I have some people to meet there when I do go, and I am so glad that I did. But video and a social media platform led to me ultimately landing in San Diego and attending that conference for 4 days.
What's one piece of advice that you learned at this conference that you didn't know before going in, but as soon as you learned it, you're like, that makes a lot of sense?
The one that I just think is opened my eyes and still is, and I don't know exactly how to apply it yet to my business, but I will, is Facebook Live. So not Charlene, Shalene, I believe is how you pronounce her name, Johnson. If you Google her, she's an infomercial star, as I call it. And she recognized that when Facebook Live came out, you could do infomercials on Facebook. And she'd already done it in traditional format, being TV, broadcasted, doing a call to action to get people to buy something, whether it's a Bowflex or a program for working out. And she recognized that essentially Facebook Live was that same exact access to an individual that could lead to a call to action, that could lead to results. And she started producing her infomercial style films on Facebook Live, and it's led to a lot better results, a lot more sales than even the traditional television has. And so her explaining that and then giving the basic rule book and the playbook to, if you want to build your own infomercial. And so like yourself, Christian, you could develop one. And I feel like when you say infomercial, you think, you know, it's a scam. Get your mindset out of scam and think about it's just a way to sell a product. The product you could sell, Christian, is how to become a better public speaker, a 10-step program. And you could then sell that program via Facebook Live that would get people to sign up and pay, whether they pay nothing or they pay something, get them to sign up for your program. And the Facebook Live led to that call to action and led to that purchase of your program. So that just opened my eyes. That was one piece of advice I would have for people, is recognize that social is not necessarily creating new ways to do things. It's still kind of the old ways, but it's a new delivery format. It's a new means of communication, but it's still the same equations, the same methods can be applied. It's just a different gateway. It's like changing from VHS to mini DV to digital. It's all the same. You're all recording, but you're just changing the format that it's recorded on and then delivered on.
With social media, that I feel that you hit on with that was that it's making the brand into humanizing, you know, making it where the person is relatable. Because when you get on this infomercial, you know, let's say you're turning on the television and it's 2 a.m, you know they're trying to sell to you, and you know that they're not trying to relate to you. But if you turn on the television at like 5 o'clock and you get this story of, let's say, a television show with actors on it, they're showing a story. And then if that actor goes in and wants to sell you a product, they got you because they've shared this story with you. So it's like using Facebook Live in that aspect. Facebook is used to share that person's story, which then leads to having the selling be humanized.
And you're absolutely right on the humanized part. So if you think about you turning it on at 2 o'clock in the morning and you can't talk to the person on the other side on TV, you turn it on at 2 o'clock in the morning and the person may say your name. If they're smart, they will. They may interact with you. If they're really smart, they will, via comments, whatever the case may be. You're having a conversation with somebody. They humanize that potential relationship, and it's so much more accessible than it ever has been. I stumbled across this when we were trying to figure out your first ever show. It was Smoky Street itself. Entrepreneur Facebook. Let's see, what one is it? I think it's Millennial Entrepreneur. I'll find it. We'll put it in the comments, Christian. And they teamed up with FedEx Office to produce a live show on Facebook Live that felt like a real show, where they're going around talking to the audience and things going on in different parts of the show, but there's comments coming in, there's live interaction. It's basically brought the game show to a live format that can be interacted with, and I have a shot of being on the show more than ever before, more than just calling in. And so it's like, wow, the first movers to recognize that they need to start producing that type of content on these things is going to get people to be interested in whatever it is they're pitching, whatever it is they're representing, whatever it is they're trying to build. So we'll link that one up, because I was memorized by it as you were trying to figure out this Google Hangout.
It's inclusion with the game show example that you bring up, of is like, you have the host that is bringing all these different guests, interacting with all these different guests, learning like a personal aspect about that guest, and then bring it back in. it's not like this one person that stands in front of a camera and is just, throwing out stuff. It's engagement and interaction.
Absolutely. So I'm going to push back. I know you're the host, but I want to push back on you a little bit here, Christian. This is your first ever Google Live Hangout, right?
Correct, yes.
And what now is kind of your vision? I'm sure your mind is going a million different miles an hour of how you could build this, but quick off the cuff, it's now documented forever. What do you think this could lead to for you as far as more shows on YouTube?
What I see this building into is one of the things that I've wanted to do, and I asked different people about this at so to the people that are viewing this, you might have seen the camera go back and forth because there were sirens in the background. I'm in Chicago right now, and one of the things I've tried to do at my school in Chicago is interviewing different artists. What I see with this Google Hangout is having those interactions with artists, with those that are in the performance arts field, and also those that are in the business field, and combining the two. I went with Real Estate Wealth Expo, I was networking with people and saying, I go to an art college. And I feel like I was probably one of the few people in this section saying, investment properties, have experience selling or experience necessarily with property holdings, but I'm an artist that can work with you. What I see with this is interviewing people, having Q&As, having really relationship building with people that are in the performing arts sector, in the business sector, and combining the two fields that may seem very separate and very, very not connected, and connecting the two together through just common conversation and questions.
Cool. What will be your, and maybe you don't have a number for it, but do you have like a targeted length? Because I think somebody that's never seen one of these before, you mentioned this thing can go for 8 hours via, is what Google told you, right?
Yeah, when I saw the 8 hours, it's just like, going to the conference, Tony Robbins spoke for like 3 hours, and there were some speakers that spoke for 45 minutes. It was just like, come on. But with him, it was just like, it's 8:30 at night already, and this was supposed to end at 6. What I see this going into lengthwise is I'm seeing an average maybe like 20 minutes or so, 15, 20 minutes. But if there's a captivating conversation and it gets that length, I hope for the day that happens. But on average, probably 15, 20 minutes.
One thing that just went through my mind, so you can, I think, invite a lot of people to this. Just think if you had like 4 people teed up, but you set them all at different times, and you made your first ever, you made a show that was 2 hours, for example, but you said, okay, every 30 minutes, a new person's coming in. They wouldn't have to sit here and watch the whole show. I think you just make them live at the 30-minute mark, and they need to be ready. And that would be kind of cool, where you brought in 4 different guests all in one show. Obviously, it would take 2 hours of your time, but 30 minutes of each of their time, which then becomes a long-form piece of content. I love jamming on the different ideas and just seeing what maybe your mind is saying right now to this first ever video production within your YouTube film with this tool.
What I see summarized in 2 words of what you just said: Google Gauntlet.
Yeah.
One person tags the next person. I would love to have that where you have, because on the Hangouts that you do, you have like 3 different guests, correct?
Yeah, we have so a couple different formats I've been playing with. We have what's called the CRE Evolve show. I'll put it on my YouTube for those that want to see it. And we've had up to 3 hosts, including myself. We're to 2 hosts, pretty average now, and then 1 guest. So yes, I don't know how many guests or hosts you can have in total, but let's say it's 15. Gosh, you could have 5 minutes for 15 different people, 10 minutes for 15 different people, and just like rapid fire. I like your Google Gauntlet idea where it's one artist after the next artist, after the next artist, after the next artist.
It's almost like a set list of a concert. Like you have your opening act, and it just builds and builds and builds. And then also you could have where one guest from the beginning co-ops with another guest from like the middle and the end, and just have like a mass collaboration at the end.
Uh-oh, we opened up a whole new tool, Christian. We've been messing around with Snapchat and Instagram and Facebook, and now there's this tool. You'll have to figure out how much you can do.
Yeah, out of the and one of the things that's helping with that is having that spreadsheet that you and I made, where we're able to manage which platforms to really focus all the attention, or the majority of our attention on, and the majority of our time on also.
Right. And I don't think by any means we're spending the majority of our time within the ones that we necessarily should be, but I feel like we're in this phase where we're testing these different tools still, which will lead to us then honing in on, for example, maybe 4 or 3 different tools for you and 4 or 3 different tools for me, where it's like, all right, Google is my platform, Facebook is my platform, and now I just work it, but I understand kind of how they all work, and know that this tool is accessible to me. The other thing I'll say is, look, let's say this doesn't build for you. You can now do these type of interviews on Facebook very easily with a tool called BeLive.tv. Because we've done this, when you decide to use the tool called BeLive.tv and share it on Facebook through your Facebook page, it's going to feel very similar to this. The only difference is we're not using Google, we're using BeLive.tv. So just exercising these different tools, which leads to, when you find the right ones that work for you and that help you reach your goals, whatever they may be, you're familiar with them.
Testing and learning. It's about you'll never know what the platform that you feel the most secure in is unless you go out and jump into it.
Very cool. Well, thank you, Christian. It's an honor to be your first ever guest on the first ever show on your first Google Live Hangout.
Well, Bucky, thank you for joining me on this Google Hangout, and for the first one, for also pushing me on to distributing or creating and then distributing more video content, because with you pushing me and challenging me through this Google Hangout was able to happen.
Very cool. So what you can do now, and everybody will know this, you can hit take off of live. It then goes to a state where we're no longer live, but we can keep our conversation going. So that's cool too, where even though we're no longer live, when you hit the button, we still can keep our conversation going.
And for those, for me and also those that are listening, where might I find that button on the screen?
Good question. I think it's on the bottom. You don't see it until you hover over the bottom.
Yeah. Is it the stop broadcast button?
Perfect. That's it.
Well, we're gonna put insert name here for what this show becomes. So, Bucky, thank you for joining me on insert name here for what the show becomes, and thanks for all those who are tuning in.
See you.